everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the Slated Double Features podcast with your hosts, Joshua Francisco Mitchell and the finger-licking good, Matthew Vivian. How are you, Matt?
I am great, thank you. I can't believe we got to double digits. That's mental.
I know. I thought we'd be done about episode 3.
I know. I thought they'd strike us off the air. I thought YouTube would just cancel our show.
But it's
still going.
You can't talk about films these days. You get locked up and thrown in prison.
You do, yeah.
Amazing. So we've got a very interesting week this week. We're not doing the old format of new film, old film. We're looking at 2 very, very fresh films. Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, and Maestro.
But they're not really connected in any way. Well, we did...
Well, yeah.
Well.
We'll talk about it. On to our weekly roundup. Yee-Haw.
Yee-Haw.
What have you seen this week?
Did we talk about Miracle on 34th Street last week or this week?
We didn't. You mentioned it with Alistair.
Okay, I watched that. It's really great. It's from 1947. I don't know if that's the oldest Christmas film I've seen, or if... I think it was 1 year apart from It's a Wonderful Life, but I can't remember which one was first. But, I just thought I need some more classics, because I've been feeling lately, when I'm scrolling through Disney Plus and Netflix, like, every Christmas film is, like, really shit. Not all of it, but I mean, like...
Yeah, not like Candy Cane Lane. Not like that one.
No, that's a masterpiece. But you have, like, a handful of the ones you grew up with, and then some others that you didn't grow up with, but that are really, really good. And then, like, 99+% of Christmas films ever made are just the worst thing you've ever seen.
Unbelievably bad, yeah.
So I thought I'd try a classic that I hadn't seen, and it's so good, honestly. It's just a really beautiful film.
Is that the one with, like, all the law procedural, like the courtroom stuff?
Yes, it is, yeah. Yeah, that's only like...
What happens? I haven't seen it.
Some of the second half. It's basically about, Macy's, the big department store in America. Like, in New York, woman who works there in a pretty high-up job. She's got a daughter, and she always raises her daughter saying, like, don't believe in all, like, fairy tales and stuff, like, Santa's not real, like, all of this.
That's
like,
how you were raised.
She's just... Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, that's why I hate cartoons and stuff so much. Like, these people aren't real. You shouldn't be wasting your time caring about what Phineas and Ferb get up to, because they are 2D drawings.
You wanted Candace to catch them every single time.
I did, yeah, because they were just being naughty. They were really misbehaving. So there's this girl who doesn't really believe in all that stuff, and then an old man comes and he sort of ends up being the shop's version of Santa in the costume, except he claims that he is the real Santa, and everyone is slowly like, this guy is very Santa-y, to be fair, and like, although like obviously that's impossible, he is very much convincing me that he is the real Santa, and then like everyone just loves him, and the girl sort of starts to believe that he might be real, and then there's a court proceedings to see whether or not he is the real Santa or not.
Oh,
but I think he is... That's only, like, in the second half. But I feel like he's the best... I need to forget the actor's name, because I think he was the best Santa I've ever seen in film. I mean,
really?
I completely bought from start to finish, like, that is the real Santa.
But before
Edmund Gwenn.
Edmund Gwenn. Has he been in anything else?
I don't know. Probably.
Because before this film, you always believed that Kurt Russell in The Christmas Chronicles 2 was the best Father Christmas.
Oh, yeah. He was in a film called The Walking Dead.
Oh my God, with Rick Grimes?
With Rick Grimes, yeah, he must be in the new Rick Grimes films they're making.
Oh, sick.
With Michonne.
I'm sure he's still around
he must be
and
bloody
acting.
old. Yeah, he must be a very old man.
Oh, amazing. No, I haven't seen it, so maybe I'll stick it on this weekend. I mean, not to date the podcast, we are filming on the 23rd of December, so we're
Christmas Eve.
Gearing up for the big festivities.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Really, really good.
Talking about festivities, I saw Godzilla Minus One.
Did you? I was going to, and then every screening was at like 9:30 and ending at like midnight, and I was just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I think it's now had a wider release because it's done so well. I think it's now showing at regular times. Have you heard anything about it?
Nothing other than it's really good. I mean, I saw the trailer, but I'd never seen a Godzilla film before, so I was like, I don't know these characters. I don't know if they ever do have the same characters. Is it always just Godzilla who's the same? And then all of the humans are new?
So I've seen this one, I've seen the original one, and some of the new shit American ones. So if you don't want spoilers for Godzilla Minus One, then skip ahead. We do have time code below. I've heard rumours about a budget being like $15 million, and then people saying that it was not that. Yeah, it's really great. It's a really interesting kind of throwback to the original one. And we're back in World War II, and you follow a main character who, from the first scene, you find out is a kamikaze pilot, and he has to kind of learn to live, which is a really great lesson. And that's kind of linked in with Godzilla, who's very much back to being that force of nature. Because I know there are different versions of him, whether he's protecting Japan against a big moth or whether he's killing Bryan Cranston. Yeah, it's nice to see him kind of being back and destroying everything. And I have to think of interesting and novel ways of getting around Godzilla, and it's great. It's really nice.
Since it's called Minus One, is it like a prequel to the original film from like the 40s?
I have no idea. I could not tell you.
Fair enough. It sounds like it ought to be if it's called that.
Yeah. I do know that the 40s was before now, so I think Godzilla Minus One came out afterwards.
Okay.
But I'm not too sure about that. We'll have to check the dates. And they are releasing a black and white version.
Okay. Well, I'm not watching that rubbish.
You got turned off after Mad Max Fury Road, black and white.
I fast forwarded through all the black and white bits of Maestro. I was like, I'm not doing this. Grow up and give me colour. This is 2023.
I remember at uni, my friend Craig and I loved The Lighthouse. Like, I did an essay, final essay at uni on The Lighthouse on montage, and we tried to show a couple of friends
biology.
the film. My postgrad was in film, and yeah, we showed some friends the film. Did like a big viewing party. And we're like, you're gonna love this. It's great. It's so bizarre, but it's brilliant. And we turned it on, and instantly they were like, "Is it black and white the entire way through?" And we're like, "Yeah, but you know it came out this year, don't you?" We're like, yeah. Instant switch off. Did not engage.
Yeah.
Did not like it.
That's what my mum's like. She can't watch things in black and white, or she'll be like, "It's good, but it's just a shame it's in black and white." As well, it's not. I think your brain gets used to it immediately.
Have you seen anything else?
Yes, I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife again, which I don't think is that bad. I think it's decent. I just think the way they handled like balancing the new stuff and the old stuff wasn't really that well done. Because I didn't mind the new stuff. I mean, I thought, you know, there was bits that are a bit like McKenna Grace just plays like basically young Sheldon but a girl.
Yeah.
I don't like that. It sounds really annoying. But and Finn Wolfhard's just doing exactly what he does in everything.
Is that, hey, I'm from Stranger Things. It's me.
Yeah, yo, it's me. But no, I think it's pretty good. And then, you know, they have like one scene of Dan Aykroyd like near the middle, and it's this is kind of cool. And then like
he's on the phone, isn't he? They call him.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a nice way of doing it. And then like all three of them in their costumes show up like so late into the film.
I know
that it's just like I kind of want to see the characters we've spent the whole film with like save the day. And they also, when they do come in, like it's like a really pathetic, like they really slowly walk into shot, and it's like it's not crutches, a dramatic reveal.
One's in a wheelchair.
It's so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I know Bill Murray's like the youngest of the three, but he looks like he was dug up.
Yeah.
And it's just, and they don't have the charisma they used to. I mean, I think Dan Aykroyd is definitely given the best performance.
Harold Ramis was dug up, wasn't he?
Well, other people said like, I'm not that sure about how they did it. I thought they did a really good job with his character. Just, you hear a lot about him, you see him a little bit with a little bit of CGI and prosthetics. I thought it was respectful, and I like how they gave him like an actual arc, even though he's not really on. I don't know, 100%. I think they did the best stuff with Spengler, the one who isn't alive anymore.
I loved like the lamp moving, and that's the bit I remember. But showing him at the end, like, you know who it is. That. You don't need to see it.
But I mean, it's made for kids now. I mean, and also when you're getting your nostalgia head on, I think I really like to see that. The four of them in a row, he's a ghost. I liked it.
And they turn on him and they suck him up with the patch.
Wait a minute. It's weird though, because Ghostbusters, like, they aren't really ghosts in it. They're more just like monsters. Like from other dimensions. I think I was always just frustrated. If you look at my Letterboxd, I think the review I gave Afterlife was like, I'm just fed up with nostalgia baiting. That you watch the first Ghostbusters and it's just a nice story. Nothing is held to high regard. Fresh, really new. Great.
But you watch Afterlife, and they've got like, here's a 30-second slow-mo pan up on the proton pack, and look at this slow reveal on XO1. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, that's not important.
I don't really mind, because I mean, that was kind of from probably near the end of an era where every franchise was getting like a requel. I think they've just done all the franchises now.
Every single one, they're done.
But like, I thought they did it not that bad, because wherever you had like, you know, take Force Awakens or Jurassic World, which I kind of think of like the kind of first two, they were like 2015, like the first two like modern requels. Yeah, they are just the same film again. They're basically remakes. Whereas this is so different that I thought when they did have the little like reveals and stuff, I was a bit like, ooh, I don't know, I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was too gratuitous. I just don't like how they said they made it so like basically the Ghostbusters ever since have had, like have just had failure. Like since the events of like the second movie, there's been like no ghosts, and then they just all went their separate ways. And it's like it's what they did with the Jedi in the sequel trilogy. Exactly. It's like I want to come back to the world, and now they're like really, you know, the Jedi temple's built up. There are loads of Jedi. That's what I want to see, and I want to see the Ghostbusters as like a really successful organization. I want to see them. I don't even know they're old. Like, you know, I want to see them in action. Like, oh, there's a ghost come in. Let's get them doing all their stuff they did before, but they're getting a bit old, so they need to pass on the torch. I don't know.
It's a bit like the difference between Across the Spider-Verse and No Way Home. In that, a criticism that people had of No Way Home was you do see Tobey Maguire and you do see Andrew Garfield, but it's like they haven't done anything since the films. Like, they don't talk about anything. They're there and then they're gone. And
it's like, you know, Andrew Garfield's talking a lot about Gwen dying, and it's like she died like 10 years ago. Yeah.
What, nothing's happened since then?
Nothing's happened since. And at least Tobey Maguire, I think he sort of implies him and MJ are married, but he doesn't talk about anything else. He doesn't mention having a kid or anything, or just any more adventures. Like whenever they mention another, I want like to hear like Andrew Garfield talk about like, you know, he's faced his version of Sandman or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Off screen,
or like, all he says is that he hasn't met a Venom. But like, why hasn't he met a Venom? He probably has. It's been 10 years. Yeah,
all he's met, or you can mention like Scorpion or someone like Madam Web or someone. Or all he's like literally only mentions Lizard and
the ones we've seen as an audience. But
Electric Man.
You look at Mr. Electric. You look at Across the Spider-Verse, and you look at Peter B. Parker, and he's got a kid now. Like, he's lived his life. He's grown since the last time we've seen him. Yeah.
And 1 year.
Yeah. Because it's a living, breathing world, and that's exactly the issue with Ghostbusters Afterlife. That maybe they should have gone on and franchised it, because the second one did so well.
I really hate the scene in the end of Afterlife where it's like Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver doing like that same test they did in the first movie. Yeah. And it's like, that obviously that was a scene that we know because it was in the film, so it's important to us, but in the grand scheme of those characters' lives, that test wouldn't be nothing. Yeah. Literally, so why are they doing this? And I didn't get any kick out of that, because I mean that's just a nostalgia. That's like nostalgia for just a regular scene. That isn't. It's not like a ghost busting scene, so I don't care.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
She didn't need to be in the movie. She shouldn't have been in it. If you haven't got a place in the movie, don't put them in it.
You still did the soy face because you recognised it, but it wasn't as big as when Ecto-1 was slowly revealed. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, absolutely. I watched The Holiday. It's terrible. I also watched, talking about how all Christmas films are bad, I was scrolling through Netflix and Disney Plus forever trying to find something that didn't look terrible, and I found a Dutch-Belgian film called The Claus Family, and I thought, that looks decent enough. Terrible. Really bad. I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's good. I'd recommend that. That was quite good fun. Bones and All. Oh my God, fantastic film.
Yeah, brilliant. It came out last year, didn't it?
Yeah. Watched it for the first time.
It's the prequel to Wonka, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah. It is, yeah. Yeah. No, I won't go into too much about that, but I would just say it's really, really good. And is it Taylor Russell, the lead, I think? I haven't seen her in anything else before, but she's absolutely incredible.
When she's at that sleepover, oh boy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good scene.
And
that was very shocking.
Who's the
Mark Rylance?
Crazy Mark Rylance.
Yeah. I've never really been much of a fan of the way he does his performances, but oh my God, he's so captivating. Every scene, he's brilliant. And Timothée Chalamet is once again he's fine, but he's not one of the best parts of the movie because he never is. It's just because people find him attractive, really.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
Yeah. Right. I think that's everything I've watched, but it's not. But I mean, that's everything I need to talk about.
Yeah, one more thing I'd like to talk about before we move on. I was lucky enough to see the Totoro play the other day at the Barbican. Oh my goodness, what a show. It was nuts.
I would like to see that.
Oh, try and get tickets.
But it's weird because there's so little story to it. It's just, I guess it's just visuals. But that's kind of what Cats is. I mean, that's just like a series of songs about cats, but it's not a really good story.
So it's not a musical, but there is a live band playing, and there is a singer who sings the songs from the film. And it is an adaptation of the film. So there are slight changes, but all to the benefit of making it kind of a wholly better experience.
Yeah.
But my friend went before, and he said, like, just wait, you'll be blown away. And I was like, yeah, but it's just a play. What can they do? But I'm not kidding. Some of the puppetry with Totoro, with the little fellas, with the cat bus, I just, like, my mouth was agape.
How do they do the dust bunnies?
I can't say. You have to go and see. I cannot say.
Fair enough.
And it was amazing. I've never been in a theatre with just loads of kids. Usually you go to Les Mis and you see the odd one or two, but they were just loving it. It was so lovely to see.
I mean, I watched My Neighbor Totoro for the first time like only a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like I wouldn't have cared for it as a kid. I only really liked it because I was an adult. Because it's not really like characters for you to be drawn to or a story for you to be drawn to. It's just a vibes-based film.
It is a vibes-based film. It's a very slice of life thing.
Yeah.
You only really get into the conflict of the mum towards the end, because otherwise it's just them settling in at home.
Absolutely.
But then I think that's down to Eastern versus Western kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's like character versus story.
Yeah. On to our first film this week. The very famous studio Aardman have released a sequel to their classic Chicken Run. Matt,
They sure have.
what was the plot?
Oh boy, so the plot was, you know Rocky and Ginger from Chicken Run 1?
I sure do.
Right, so at the end of Chicken Run 1, all of the chickens, like, they go
run.
to an island and they run away. And they're in an island and it's like a paradise, you know. They're free from the farmers, great. Rocky and Ginger have a little babby, a little chick.
A little bab.
She's called Molly. She's a bit of a bloody nuisance, to be honest. She's always getting into scrapes. She's running off. She's trying to have adventure. She's a bit of a Moana type, you know. She wants to go outside of the island.
Bit of a ginger, you could say. Takes after her mum.
Oh, absolutely. And a bit of a Rocky because she's a bit of a, I guess a daredevil type, you know. She's a, but anyway, she sees like all these trucks going past on the road opposite, like for like, I can't remember what it's called, like Happy Chicken Farm or something. And they're like, oh my god, that looks incredible. And so she escapes, and the others are like, oh my god, she's gone when they wake up, and they try and follow her. And she's found like a new kind of farm, like a sort of factory farm, but it's a wonderful, beautiful place. But it's maybe not all as it seems.
Ooh.
And so Rocky, Ginger, and the other chickens from the first movie, who sound strangely different, but they look the same.
Weird.
They are breaking into a farm this time rather than out to rescue Molly.
Very
And
nice.
it just sort of goes on from there.
And they meet a Scouse chicken who says "boche" a lot.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, Molly's like character she has to meet, so she has someone to talk to.
Yeah,
Scouse chicken.
So what did you think to Chicken Run 2?
Can I go for a wee first, please?
Okay. Let the record hear that Matt is going for a wee. We shall resume after the wee.
You're eating a banana.
You went for a wee break. I went for a banana
I'm ready
break.
to go now.
So
you're
am I.
eating a banana.
I'm ready to go. I've got a black bit though. Do you want to eat this black bit of the banana?
No.
There you go.
Oh.
What did you think to Chicken Run 2?
I thought it was pretty decent. Shall we start off with my history of the film when it was first announced? So, I'm a huge Aardman fan. The
You're
biggest,
a huge
you could say.
Aardman.
Oh,
did you say?
Aardman for Aardman. I love Wallace and Gromit. I'm not as much. I've only seen Chicken Run a few times, but it's obviously very good. And so when they announced it, I was a little bit tipsy, you could say. I'd been in the pub, and they announced, like, you know, they were making Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, and, you know, Ginger's going to be played by Tandiwe Newton, and Rocky's going to be played by Zachary Levi. And I was like, hang a fucking about, what? Was Julia Sawalha not free or something? And then I saw Julia Sawalha say, like, wait, am I too old? And then she re-record the lines to say, like, look, I sound exactly the same, I swear, why did you fire me? And then Aardman was like hitting back with like, oh yeah, nah, but we just don't want you anymore. And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, like, whoa, you can't do this, this isn't what Aardman does. Aardman makes like wholesome, like beautiful, like movies about, like, you know, they're not handsome, beautiful. You know, the leads of the movies are like a chickens or like a bald man with his dog. You know, these are grotesque creatures who are your leads. You don't be getting Hollywood actors in. I mean, you had Mel Gibson in the first one because that's the point, that Rocky is like an American sort of like macho man and she's just like a middle-aged chicken.
And I get Mel Gibson's a racist, so you wouldn't want him back.
I fully get recasting
Zachary
Rocky.
Levi is also famously very weird.
That's why I'm so happy that they cast someone without any controversies whatsoever to replace it. What a good idea, picking a man who's never had anyone say anything bad about them. Anyway, I wasn't very happy about that because I was like, this just isn't an Aardman thing to do. You don't replace Peter Sallis with Dwayne Johnson because you need a bigger star. No, they just get someone who sounds like Wallace when he died, or just keep him in because he's Wallace. And Julie Sawalha is Ginger. She did a great job in the first film. Keep her on. So I was unhappy, and I started a like Change UK, whatever it is, politician, what they say in Parliament. It only got a couple of hundred signatures, but that's still quite a lot.
That is good.
So I was posting it in like Facebook pages for like Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit fans, and Thandie Newton is nowhere near as good. I kind of initially was like, shall I just boycott the film? Because I really don't think this is... And it's actually not just them. There's a bunch of characters they've changed. But then they've also kept, like Babs Bunty, whatever the Scottish one's called. Probably Mac or something. They kept Mrs. Tweedy.
It is Mac.
And it's just like, keeping these, but then not keeping the lead. Is it literally just because they want more Hollywood names? I don't know.
It's unusual
it's like
that...
when Henry Cavill left, and it's like, I don't know if... I'm not going to... It is entirely possible that he has done something that they've sort of fired him for, but they don't want to say because it's not public. I don't know. When you left The Witcher, that was.
Yeah, it's unusual that nothing has been said about it officially.
And also the cast like aren't doing press for it. It seems like they're just kind of hoping that it gets swept under the rug and people don't notice, and they're just focusing on... Like, I saw it behind the scenes of it, and there was none of the cast recording the lines. It was just the animators.
Oh...
I feel like there's something going on behind the scenes, and they're literally just trying to sweep that under the rug as much as possible.
I don't know if you saw this behind the scenes. Maybe this is kind of a reason why. Did you see that there was a special chicken in the background? Someone may have been causing an issue. Maybe that was down to them.
I did that, setting up the sequel. Yeah, I
Chicken Run 3.
That's right near the end of the movie, yeah. No,
Goodness
I did
me.
Indeed see a certain suspicious-looking bird in the background.
By the name of
shot.
Feathers McGraw.
No, it wasn't Feathers McGraw, because this guy, like the thing on top, the little red, like,
Oh
on top.
my god, yeah,
So
I'm
it
sorry.
wasn't Feathers
Yeah, no, he's a
McGraw.
penguin,
He looked a little
isn't
bit
he?
like him.
Yeah.
He's a penguin, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a chicken who looked fairly similar to
Yeah,
him.
that is
like,
weird.
Maybe.
Yeah, sorry, that's my fault.
But no, it was a chicken.
So, directed by Sam Fell, known for the all-time classic Flushed Away, as well as Paranorman. What did you think to the direction of this?
I thought it was pretty good. I've always really liked the way that Aardman works. I mean, they always have a lot of jokes and like background jokes as well as like in the script, because I guess it takes so long to do.
You see, that's the biggest issue that I had with this film, is that I didn't think it was funny. I didn't think it was overly funny at all.
I didn't think... No.
There
it wasn't
were,
as much as
like,
the first film.
Maybe I
And
laughed
nowhere
once
near as
or
much as
twice.
Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd say same. It was like... It was maybe you might smile at stuff, but you wouldn't like laugh out loud.
Yeah. When that chicken says boche, then I would laugh.
Yeah.
That was kind of the biggest one. Yeah, so that was a bit of a shame. I was ready for like a big like Christmas fun time, and it was fun, but not as fun as I was expecting.
But the first movie it's funny, but it's also like pretty much a horror film. Like, it is absolutely traumatizing to watch. It's certainly... This one is a lot like light-hearted than the first one. And I remember in the like behind the scenes I saw one of the animators saying how they had to like redesign they had to like come up with like how Ginger smiled, because she smiles loads in this movie and she like never did in the first movie because she's just depressed in prison the whole time.
Oh, that's really sad.
So it's sort of, the first movie is bloody bleak. I remember as a kid, like when that one chicken gets like decapitated, it was like really sad. I don't know if I cried, but I was probably pretty close to it.
Very famously, I'm sure we don't have to say that it's the first one is a parody of a Great War film, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Inglourious Bastards.
That's the one.
Yeah. So it's. I think it makes sense that a sequel is a spin on that they've got to break in a prison.
But I don't know what this is really a parody of. I mean, the things around their necks with the numbers on look like Squid Game. But it wasn't really.
Maybe it was Squid Game.
I guess the kind of aesthetic on the inside was kind of Squid Gamey, but it wasn't narratively Squid Gamey at all.
Did you come away learning anything? Are you now vegetarian from this film? Did it teach you about factory farming?
Yeah, well, so I was a vegetarian for the past like year and a half, and then I watched the start of the film. I was like, oh my god, chickens! And then I just devoured loads of chicken wings, and then I watched them like being in a farm, and it was really sad. And then I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be a vegetarian again.
Oh my goodness, that is a roller coaster.
So it cured me.
So it very much follows Molly. This is Molly's journey, breaking out of the island and experiencing what her parents had, something that she was lucky enough never to have gone through.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that.
But yes,
that's the case, because they never ever talk about the events of Chicken Run 1.
So she escapes and then gets locked up, and it's up to her parents and guardians. Oh, this is spoilers, I guess. Parents and friends to come and find her.
I'm not going to lie, I was never surprised by a single thing that happened in the film. It's very much it's a kid's film. You know how it's going to start, you know how the middle's going to go, and you know how it's going to end.
So it makes sense for me on the first one that you've got a host of characters, because they're all in the same environment. They've all got the same goal. It's the Great Escape. Like, they've all got to have. You need specialists. You need this. You need that. They need different skills that are going to break them out of the coop.
Yeah, but, because I thought.
So it seems bizarre. I think that's kind of a disconnect for me. That it makes sense that they're bringing back the classic characters that everyone loves, but why they were involved in the story, like why they went along, was weird. I get that they all love Molly, but not in the same way that Ginger and Rocky love Molly. Like, they would go and do everything they can to save her. And like you said, Rocky doesn't really have an active part in the story. He's just there.
Is it Babs, the stupid one?
Yeah, the one who knits.
Yeah, so her knitting was important in the first film, and in this one, there's a gag from it. She knits a bike. That's obviously pretty useless, but that doesn't really come into it at all. So she's literally only there to say stupid lines. Yeah, and you get a couple of titters from what she's saying, but then Bunty doesn't do anything. Mac doesn't do anything. Fowler, you get some fun stuff from the bit of David old Bradley. Man. Yeah, I think it very much feels that the A plot is still Ginger and Rocky, and the B plot is Molly. And I think it should have been the other way around. I think we should have followed Molly, and I'd probably consider the A plot to be Molly.
I just feel like she gets there, and then that's it.
Well, I guess when it's following her for pretty much the whole film until you get to. Till she's in the farm, and then there's nothing new to introduce, and so you have to then switch over.
Until you get the characters that kind of fans, quote unquote, care about. But if you had Molly go in and she kind of has to build her own team and just to learn everything from her mum and her dad and break her own way out, and then the B plot is then Molly and Ginger, Ginger and Rocky having to sort out the villain from the first film, maybe. So they've got that to go back to, and Molly has her own villain of the Doctor or something. I just found it weird that these characters that we know but aren't overly it's not like Star Wars getting Luke Skywalker back. It's Babs knitting. Why? I didn't feel the need for them to be shoehorned in for the whole adventure. You could have put new characters in there. We could have met new things. We could have understood what it's actually like in this facility. They've got to be different rooms going on other than just. Yeah, it could have been like Westworld, where they go in and the first one's like a Squid Game, and then they escape and go into if there's a Japanese wing one, and it's all Japanese themed. That could have been an interesting way of doing it.
I guess. But I don't know if that really adds anything. It's more just faffing.
More to do.
But I guess it does. But it did. I mean, for the whole farm, that surely can't be the only room, because it all looks.
Exactly. There's got to be more going on.
It wasn't very big.
If it's making the chickens as happy as possible, then why not have different rooms for different
I suppose
things?
that would be good. Yeah.
And that was a bloody small room for a factory of chickens.
Yeah, exactly. There weren't enough of them.
Like, go to the battery hen side. Like, the chickens have got to be stored somewhere and then put the collars on to make them happy. Go into this horrific just room of wall-to-wall chickens. Like, see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think they wanted to just make it more family-friendly fun rather than, like, let's actually make people vegans. Because, like, when they get, like, they're going to be, like, slaughtered, they just basically go into a machine that just like they just all call it like processing.
Yeah,
they just go into a machine and then they come out as like a bucket of chicken.
A what of chicken?
Oh, bucket.
So what did you rate Chicken Run to the KFC?
That's the one. I gave it 3.5 stars. Could have been 3 probably, but it was that sort of like, you know, you watch it with the family, you were like, well, that was a fun hour and a half, and now I'll move on with my life. It did the job, but it could have done it a bit better.
I gave it 2.5. For me, this falls squarely in the category of they didn't have anything to say. I don't think it needed to be made. No one was like, I have a great idea for a sequel to Chicken Run.
I do quite like how they like brought it up to modern days. They like, it felt a bit. It did feel more like a commentary on, like, you know, fast food and stuff. It felt a bit more up to date.
And they were all on TikTok as well, weren't they, to show it was modern day.
And they're doing like the dances, Fortnite dances.
Yeah, when Molly flosses at the end, I thought that was really weird.
Have you seen the new Percy Jackson?
I was going to say, we should have spoken at the start.
Well, we only only been 2 episodes. Yeah, he was flossing during Capture the Flag. Right. No, that's. I don't mind. I know you hate stuff like that, but it's like, well, I don't really mind it because that is what kids do.
They're cringe.
I know you hated it in Shazam when they act like they're teenagers in the 2020s, but they are. So
when I went to see Totoro, we were walking around the shop.
Did she floss as well?
Totoro flossed.
Male, or good.
And there was a kid walking around just picking up the Totoro toys, going, "Is this Freddy Fazbear? Oh." Just the whole time, for about 20 minutes, just picking up different toys and doing it. And then his mum called him away, and he ran away singing it still. And I was like, oh God, kids are just horrific.
Five Nights at Freddy's been around for a while as well.
I know.
Yeah, that was like our time.
That was back in the day when we had Stick and Hoop.
Were you doing that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was me. Great. Thank you, Chicken Run.
Well, thank you. Do you think they'll do a third one?
No, I don't think.
I don't know why they need to.
Just do it. Wallace and Gromit, please.
They are next year. Can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. But it's just a shame because the guy who voices him isn't as good as Peter Sellers. But I'll live.
And you said they're getting the Rock in, aren't they, to do Wallace?
Yeah, well, they're getting the Rock in, yeah. And Kevin Hart's voicing Gromit because they thought, well, we need another star in. And Gromit hasn't talked yet. So we're like, well, okay, we'll just get him to
talk
for the first time. And obviously we know the two of them have the best chemistry in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So,
and I've heard that they're going to give Wallace hair, so he's not a freak of a human anymore. He's more Hollywood attractive.
Yeah, he's got an afro. Oh boy, now we've got a totally different film to talk about. Could you please tell us the plot of Maestro?
I guess so. Probably in about a sentence I could. Maestro follows Leonard Bernstein. And that's it. That's the story.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Leonard Bernstein. I did not know who this was going in.
I knew his name. I knew his composer.
I didn't know who he is coming out.
Well, that's the thing is, like, it's not... I mean, I saw, like, a little interview with one of his, like, real-life daughters, and she said, like, that she liked how it wasn't a biopic. It was a story about her parents' marriage. And it's like... But that's not interesting. That's why The Fabelmans wasn't interesting. And that's what I like... well, that's why Rocketman was interesting, because it was about Elton John's personal life. But he was doing mad shit. Like, all that Bernstein did was cheat on his wife with a bunch of mostly younger men. And it's like, well... Yeah. I don't need a 2-hour film of that.
And that's like every other biopic at the minute. It's just, here is very talented white man... This is what he did. He cheated on his wife, who was just there in the story. Yeah. And she stays with him, and then they die. Like, that's it.
No, we're talking about Maestro, not Hamilton.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, Hamilton is substantially better. Because he does do... But because that also shows him as a genius, and we see what he does, and we see so much of his career and his personal life in a perfect balance that tells the story of his life. This film is like barely anything about his composing. We only see it in a couple of scenes. It's like literally just him with his wife the whole time.
They're great.
Those scenes are great.
They're great.
Yeah, so there was a scene like about 2/3 of the way through, maybe 3/4, that's like just him conducting, and it's a oneer, like a big crane shot's going round, and he's
Gorgeous,
just conducting.
isn't it?
Looked stunning. That
Lovely.
scene's only in the movie so he can get an Oscar. That is like very much. He's put that in there to show, like, look, I learned how to conduct. I'm sweaty. I'm looking great. I am Leonard Bernstein. That was just there for his like acting reel for your consideration.
Yeah.
And I
Even
actually thought that for a lot of the movie.
There's a scene towards the end. Any spoilers? I don't really care. If you worry about spoilers for the Leonard Bernstein biopic,
I wouldn't
just
worry
go and read
about
the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But after his wife dies,
I loved that scene so much.
great.
Yeah,
Really good.
And so I actually, about halfway through the film, I was like, I wonder if he's doing a good impression or not. Let me just see what the actual Leonard Bernstein was like. And I watched a video of him doing basically exactly that. There was like, composer, and he was sort of there teaching, and he came up and was like, do you mind if I show, like, what if we do something like this? And it was actually, I feel like that scene was almost based in that video because it was so similar. And I thought, okay.
So that's the scene. That's exactly the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene should have been at the start, or something like that should have been at the start, to show how kind of great he is at what he does.
Exactly.
You're told about it, and you know at the start that he was like assistant conductor, but then the conductor fell ill, so then he had to step up, and that's what
when he
shot
was like
him
25
into into conducting. But you don't really get like the impression of that otherwise.
No. Not at all. I think there's like, maybe 2 scenes of him sort of teaching, but you don't even find out what he's like conducted, what piece of music he's done. They mentioned West Side Story a fair bit. But Stephen Sondheim like wrote the. I've always known him as writing West Side Story, so I guess he did the lyrics. Maybe Bernstein did the music. It's just like Mank again. It's like, well, the more interesting person who wrote Citizen Kane is Orson Welles. No one cares about Herman J. Mankiewicz because he didn't do anything else.
Yeah. No, exactly right.
Bernstein is very famous, but he must have done other stuff, but they just omitted it from the movie.
It was just a bizarre angle to take the film.
Yeah.
And it's like every other kind of Oscar bait biopic, really. I think the performances are great. Bradley Cooper is brilliant. Carey Mulligan's brilliant.
Think he was very good. I actually didn't like Carey Mulligan in it, but I don't think that's her fault. I think it's just the character is so uninteresting to me. Who is she?
But then that's the film. That's the film.
Character is wife.
Yeah, but that's like all of these biopics, is that she is there to be cheated on and then die. Like that's it. And the cancer stuff is great, but that comes just too late in the game. That's like half an hour left. She has something to do and it's dying, and that's it.
Yeah, when it was just like an old rich white people go like, oh, quite splendid. And like, it's just that for the whole movie. All the dialogue I found was like insufferable. And like, a lot of people did talk like that back then. But I mean, in the Bernstein videos I watched, like, he was talking like a normal person. I mean, it was a good impression that Bradley Cooper did, although he hammed up a little bit too much. But he's acting like a normal person. He's got personality. When he's doing this, like, you kind of see it at the end in that scene where he's like helping the student out composing. He's got a lot more personality there, and he's a lot more. His body movement's more free. He's more energetic. He's got more charisma. And then most of the film, he just doesn't have any of that. Like, he's not a fun person to watch. But then the real guy, in interviews I've seen, he seems like he was. He was an interesting guy.
So maybe that's down to the direction. So what did you think?
I think so.
To that?
I didn't like the direction very much.
I can't remember who the director was. Who was that?
I think it was the same guy as Chicken Run, as Sam Fell.
I think so.
Yeah.
So directed by Bradley Charles Cooper, who had previously done A Star Is Born. I think it's just from inexperience working with actors.
I think so much of it is this film was made so he could get an Oscar.
Yeah.
And it was just a total vanity project. I mean, I don't really see it as anything else. I mean, I don't think any of the other characters, apart from even Bernstein isn't particularly interesting, but none of the other characters have anything to do. I mean, who are the other characters? There's wife, there's
Maya Hawke.
Sarah Silverman, was she his sister? Maya Hawke was his daughter.
Yeah.
But they weren't characters.
No.
Like, his daughter was just his daughter, and that was it. And like, oh, there was a scene where she finds out about rumours about him having like gay affairs, and he's like, no, it's not true. And then like next time you see her, she knows that it is true, and she's just come to terms with it, and she's fine with it. And it's like, well, where was the conflict then? What is this? And the whole time she's like, oh, daddy, oh, you're so perfect, oh, daddy, I love you, daddy. And it's just like, I don't understand why this film's getting like 5 stars and 4. I think what it is just people have watched it and be like, this is what like an Oscar film is, and it means it must be good.
It must be really good.
It must be, so I have to give it a higher. I mean, sometimes when I watch films now, I'm like, I feel bad about giving it a low rating because I'm like watching, well, this has to be good. And I feel like because the cinematography is very classy and the acting is like pretty good, and it's about like a genius who most people don't actually care about, but you're told by A-list celebrities that he's like the greatest, so you have to also be a fan. And it's I don't know, it felt like it was just telling me how clever it is while delivering a quite boring film.
So one thing that I did really like about this film was the use of camera and the way the film was presented. So you have the flashback stuff, and it's almost like era by era, the time is reflected by the filmmaking of that time.
It was, but it kind of wasn't, because I get it for the first bit. It was like 1940s, 50s, and it was 4:3, black and white, the film stock of the time.
Like all wide as well, and it was all down to blocking. I was like, oh man, I love it.
It looked like an old film.
Gorgeous.
For the most part, I mean, there was like clear visual effects because they do like a lot of like wiping in front of the camera and in a different scene.
Yeah.
They do like lots of transitions that were very, very modern. But that worked. And then the bit in like the 80s, like which you don't see very much of, is in like 16:9 and in colour, and it's sort of more 80s type film. That worked. And then the middle bit, like so I guess like 60s, 70s, was in colour, but it was in 4:3 still. And it's like, but movies weren't like this back then. They should be in like either like widescreen or 16:9.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted clear distinction between them, but I thought it was such a well shot film. The black and white stuff, especially the shot of him when he gets the phone call that he needs to conduct, I think that was lovely.
Oh, right at the start.
Yeah. The shot where his wife's telling him off at the Macy's Day Parade, and like Snoopy goes past the window, like that just
That's
long
good.
held shot. I definitely think it deserves a little nom for camera work.
I don't know if it should get a cinematography one though, because that was like part of direction, but he definitely shouldn't get a director nomination.
Not a director nomination, no, I don't think so.
I think like crew direction, he did a good job. Cast direction, no.
I completely agree. Something that is very talked about with this film is the prosthetics. So what did you think?
Yeah.
The controversy around it.
Yeah, well, it was the big prosthetic nose to play a Jewish character. I didn't personally really mind, because I thought it wasn't just the nose; it was the ears. It was he did look. They did a really good job making him look like Leonard Bernstein. And I think what it was when they first released the trailer, there was like a shot in it, which was, you know, the bit where they're like him and his wife like sitting in the garden, and they're like, oh, get a number. Oh, what number are you thinking of? Oh, it's 2. Doing all that bit.
Classic Tory game, that is. They always play that.
Yeah. There's like a side-on shot, and it's like he's got a proper like Cyrano de Bergerac like fucking like hooked nose, and people would look at that like Jesus Christ. But like it doesn't really look like that in the rest of the film. Like it's never shot. It was just because it was a very side-on shot. And I think when you watch the rest of it, it's like it's not just the nose. It's they made him look like Leonard Bernstein, and I think it was fine, but I'm not Jewish, so I can't really comment on it.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't want to touch on that either. But in terms of prosthetics, I think it was really good. I thought the actual like artistry of it great.
Was
like
incredible.
Through time, how he changes was brilliant. Same with
I've always felt
Mulligan
like
as well.
old person prosthetics look god awful. Like, they never look good. I remember when I was watching Midnight Mass like a month or so ago, there was like an old woman character, like someone's mum, and I was like, she'll be young at one point. She'll have a flashback. Like, that is clearly a woman in her like 20s, 30s in prosthetic.
Yeah.
And same with like Pearl, X, I guess. Like, it's never ever convincing in any show. Peggy Carter in Winter Soldier never looks good. I thought this was absolutely stunning. I thought they did big close-ups. You see all the pores. You never saw You never saw like the seam line. I thought it was absolutely perfect.
The only issue I had was it looked great, but for me it took away from like facial performance completely. The close-ups of
him. He was doing much anyway, though.
Like the one of him, you know, where he's hugging the pillow and he's like screaming into it, and he's like sobbing. Yeah. You can hear that he's sobbing, but from eyes up, there's just nothing. Maybe he like furrows his brow. But there's just no range there.
That wasn't a particularly close-up shot, though, was it?
That's the one that I was like, oh, okay. I wonder how much they've had to mess around with framing, whether there was things that they wanted but couldn't get just because he can't emote the way he usually would.
Because it was also, I think his big ears are a bigger thing. I don't know how they did them. They must have been prosthetics, because I don't think Bradley Cooper's got absolute BFG ears.
It was Mark Rylance. They copied his ears over.
But I thought he looked like best when he was really old. And when he was like teaching that student at the end, like you see his full body. I don't think they made him quite fat enough for Leonard Bernstein when he's a bit older in life.
Yeah.
But when I was watching that, I was like, I can't believe this is Bradley Cooper.
So good.
It was incredible.
Yeah. I can't believe this is the man from The Hangovers.
I did also think, this is kind of changing the subject a little bit, and it's more to do with the end. But so, as we touched on, like the film is just, the whole film is about him just having affairs, but also about how he's a perfect man and he's never done anything wrong in his life.
Yeah.
And how much of a genius he is. I thought like the ending scene, which is like, so we see like him teaching a young student, and it's like, oh wow, he's a really good teacher. Like his class really love him and everything. And then it shows him in that club.
Yeah.
Flirting with the kid. Like being really creepy, like, you know, like getting off with him. And it's like, this doesn't make me like it.
No.
You're still presenting the film as a... Is it meant to be that... Okay, that's the last
Haven't learnt a lesson, hasn't changed.
Is it supposed to be that, like, oh, this whole time you're supposed to think, oh, he's great, and then you're supposed to end it being like, oh, he was actually a really gross man?
He's been gross the whole way through.
But that's, like, the most explicitly gross, I guess, because he's oldest, and that's, like, a student of his. But he has been pretty bad the whole way through. I mean, there was a bit like at a party where he's like going to a corridor to like make out with a much younger man when his like family are there.
Bizarre, isn't it? It's just weird.
I wish we saw more composing and less cheating on his wife.
Yeah, more composing and less nonsense. That's our tagline. Yeah. What did you rate it?
Do you have anything more to say?
No, I don't. Oh. That's it.
I gave it 2.5 because I was going to give it 2, and then I went on Letterboxd and everyone was giving it like 4.5, 5, and I thought, well, I don't want it. That is just a peer pressure thing. It's a 2-star movie.
Wow, bold stance, putting your foot down.
Yeah,
I gave it.
It's boring.
3 stars.
Okay,
3 stars. I think it was very artsy. I do think it needs to be in the conversation.
Style over substance.
Oh, 100%.
There is no 100%. Substance to that film.
But I think the performances were great. I think the cinematography was great. I think it just didn't know what it wanted to be. And so that's why it won't be winning an Oscar for me this year.
I don't think it will anyway.
Thank you, Bradley.
I think it might get a nomination. It won't win.
Do you have any filmmaking lessons from either Chicken Run 2 or Maestro?
I think not that's unique. I keep saying like just make a film not boring.
No, that's a good
comedy
point.
Needs more jokes than Chicken Run 2 had.
I think both of these films have just been kind of middling.
I think they need a reason to exist as well. Like they both are sort of. I'm not sure they should have been commissioned over. I mean, I think how many scripts go through Hollywood. I feel like they both. I think Maestro was made because Bradley Cooper was. He's obviously a very famous actor, but he had a lot of success from Star is Born. People really liked his direction of that, and so he almost. I'm sure after that came out, a bunch of studios were like, "Okay, I'll do your next one."
Yeah,
and I think he sort of said he'd do this, and they hadn't made a biopic about Bernstein before, I don't think, and I think it was just a bunch of Hollywood elites were like, "Oh yeah, he's a great guy," and not thinking about the general audiences and is it actually a good film?
Yeah, very much an Oscar bait.
Is it
That's why
worth
that was
telling?
made. A cynical Oscar
exactly.
bait. And Chicken
Cynical
Run on
Oscar
the
bait.
other end.
Was just for
IP.
Well, it's not even
Just
money because it's on
Netflix IP,
Netflix, isn't
yeah.
it? But it's just an IP thing. Yeah, it was just first one was popular. What do we have at Aardman? We got Wallace and Gromit. Well, we're making one of them, but he's dead. So like, let's try Chicken Run instead.
Yeah, I think tell a story that needs to be told. I think that's what let both of these films down this week, unfortunately. But they're not all bad. I think they were both good films in their own. Good films in their own ways. But yeah, maybe if they had different voices behind them, someone who had something to say, I think it would be a lot different.
Yeah.
Well polished, but lacking foundation.
Okay, now for cursed double features. Mine aren't very good this week. Sorry about that. So, Chicken Run 2, I've got Incredibles 2, which is a much worse sequel made years and years later. That is still presumably set in the past, but is incredibly futuristic in its technology. Because
That's
The
pretty
Incredibles
good,
is set in
yeah.
the 50s.
Yeah.
It's set in like
yeah.
the 50s. And it's like mad futuristic.
And they're all flossing.
It's like, this is set in like 2000. And they're all flossing, they're doing the nay-nay. What are the kids doing these days? I don't even go on
I
TikTok.
don't know.
I don't know what their dances are.
They're all drinking paint, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I had Chicken
Tide
Run.
Pods these days.
I had Chicken Run and Iron Man 2, which are recasts, but no one in the film actually says about the recasts. Obviously, with Terrence Howard.
Well, it would be
Don
weird
Cheadle.
if they went. It would be weird if Tony Stark went, whoa, who are you?
And I think they were controversial. I think Terrence Howard left because he wasn't getting paid enough, so they're like, well, fuck you then.
It's because he wanted like the same money as
RDJ,
Jr.
yeah, and they're like, no chance.
I'm always seeing these stories where it's like, oh, this woman didn't get the same as her male co-star, and it's like, yeah, because he's the lead and he's in 3 times as many scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely a big like pay disparity in like women and men. I do get that, but a lot of these stories are like, yeah, but he's the lead.
Yeah.
Like, of course he's getting
Yeah.
more.
Did you get any for Maestro? I've got 2.
I've got one.
All right, I'll do one first.
Okay.
I have Maestro and 21 Jump Street, and that's very big actors in very fake noses, with Bradley Cooper and Johnny Depp, but his fake nose gets ripped
Yeah.
off right at the end.
It does, yeah. Can I do mine? Because I feel like it's such an obvious one that you might take it.
Do it.
I've got Maestro and Tar, which is an Oscar bait film about a world famous homosexual composer who likes to fuck their much younger students.
I haven't seen Tar. That's
You haven't
very
seen
odd.
Tar?
No, I know.
It's so much better than this.
Is
Tar is
it?
a fantastic film.
I have to watch
really,
it.
really great.
Maybe I'll do that
I
double feature.
very much recommend.
I'll rewatch Maestro and then watch Tar.
really recommend it. Yeah.
I had Maestro and Harry Potter just because they love waving their little sticks. And for the short this week, I know we may be a bit behind. We are a bit gutted that we didn't time this properly to do a Christmas episode because that should have been last week. However, we're finally able to look at Matt's most recent short film, The Elf Who Is Making Your Toys, is on £9 an hour and hates his job.
Fantastic title, if I do say so myself.
Was that right?
That was right, yeah?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, on that note, we should also have an interview coming out today, hopefully. Today as in Saturday, date of recording. Where we have a very more formal but very fun interview with Matt and the co-writer and one of the stars of the piece, Alistair Lindsay. So please check that out. It will be on YouTube for a nice, very gorgeously shot visual version, and we'll also release an audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Matt, why did you make a Christmas film?
I just wanted to make I was editing my feature Mayfly, which I'm sure we'll do a video on some point in the new year. I was very bored of the edit. I hate editing. I just do it because I don't know. Editing takes a long time, so it's very hard to, when you've got no money, to persuade someone to edit a film for you. You kind of, a lot of the time, just have to bite the bullet and do it yourself.
Yeah, it's horrific. So boring.
Yeah, it's something I really don't enjoy. And so doing a feature was like really, and also my laptop is so bad. Like, I can't run it. Just crashes constantly. I can't see what I'm editing as I'm doing it. I just have to export, which takes ages to see what I've actually done. It's really bad. And so I was just getting so frustrated with that I was like, well, I want to make another short. I want to make, it's such a long time since I've shot anything. I want to have something that I can, a shorter thing, we can write it, shoot it, release it within, a couple of months. And we came up with this idea in like start of November, maybe mid-November. And we decided to make a Christmas one. Me and Lester, we were just in the pub, literally just to give us a deadline. Like, this has to be done before Christmas. And I thought it turned out all right. I mean, it started off very different. It was like about like a big Christmas conspiracy. It was like some elves delivering presents in a house, and then there's like a new one who was like, work experience or something, and he was like, oh my god, but we got so many left to do, and they're like, no, we're just going to dump all these ones are for like council estate. We're just going to dump these in the sea on the way back. And it was like about, wait, so poor kids don't get toys because you just don't. It's because they don't want to get like the sleigh nicked or don't want to get stabbed. So they just dump all poor kids' toys in the
watching an elf getting stabbed. Love it.
And it was like that. And then it just evolved a lot more. Alistair wrote a script, and there was like a B plot of a character called Gobble who was having like a bit of an existential moral crisis because he had to decide whether kids were naughty or nice, and it's a lot more complex than that. And I read it and was like, I like this, but it's not, I don't really want to shoot this film, but I love the B plot. And so we took that, barely changed it to how it is in the actual film, and then we just built a bunch of other plots around it and just showed a workplace, an office and a warehouse and different departments. And it's basically like a concept of this like fantasy idea we think of like the elves making the toys in the factory. Like, how will that actually be in the 21st century? It's just a lot of elves ordering toys on Amazon and wrapping them, minimum wage elves wrapping them. But hopefully it's quite funny.
Yeah, it's great. So it's very much in the format of mockumentary, and if you want to know more about that and why Matt decided to do it in a mockumentary format, make sure to check out our interview coming out today. And as Matt said, it follows many plots. It's about 3 or 4 different through lines over the course of 14 minutes, exploring these different avenues and job roles and experiences that elves have to go through in this post-capitalist world. And I think the biggest thing, the reason why you should check out this film is just how funny it is. Funny, festive, light-hearted, and just a great time. Alistair is the highlight, as always. And you've got so many lovely comments. Let's read through some of these. Yeah, so we've got DJ Pakra says, this is fantastic. Very good work. Deserves far more views than it has. Jared Foreman 1 said, this is absolutely hilarious. I laughed so much. Emoji. If not for the ending, I would say make a full series of this Office-esque show. The writing, cast, and editing were brilliant. Also, I'm getting Adam Sandler Cinematic Universe vibes with the cast.
Well, that's a horrendous insult you've thrown at me in the last sentence for the rest of it. Thank you very much.
And finally, Mano News 2740. I love him. I watch every one of his videos. He said, so good. You reached the Netherlands, smiley face.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know who he is, so that's a stranger. Thank you.
I'm
very grateful. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You can delete it now. You've reached the Netherlands. It doesn't get bigger than that.
I've reached like one of our nearest countries.
No, it's brilliant. Please, everyone, anyone listening who hasn't seen it, go and subscribe to Matt's channel. Watch the short before it gets taken down and boxed away until next year. It's well worth it. It flies by. You could maybe even watch it 2 or 3 times if you're that excited and passionate about it.
I think you should.
No, it's brilliant. What a lovely short. A lovely thematic Crimbo short.
Thank you very much. No, we had a very good time making it. Thank you for helping me out on it. Joshua did a lot of camera work on it.
Thank you for having
and he's
me.
also in it, briefly. I forgot to credit him.
Uncredited, so don't watch this film for me, because I've been snubbed.
Because I didn't think he was in it, and I added a scene with you in, and then it turns out you were actually out of focus in the background in a different shot.
Yep.
But
I played Tron Legacy the Elf, but you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to add myself from the IMDb, so don't worry, you can find me there.
Yeah, I don't think you can read the name tag, but his character name is Tron Legacy. That's it. The elf who's making your toys is on £9 an hour and hates his job. Watch the full-length interview. Watch the film, please. It's on my YouTube channel. Link in description. Love you.
Ah. And on that note, I think that rounds us off very nicely. Wow. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. I hope you found more enjoyment out of Chicken Run 2 and Maestro than we did. Please let us know. Leave your cursable features below. Any thoughts as well. Make sure to answer the poll. We always have a funny poll at the bottom, but I'm the only one who ever answers it.
Wait, where's that? Oh, on Spotify.
On Spotify. So do that. That would be quite fun also. But lovely. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for the podcast.
Thank you. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. See you in the new year.
See you in the new year. See you on the next one in the new year.
I'll see you in the new year.
I'll see you in the new year.
Bye.
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 Bye.